And welcome on back, everyone, to episode 115 of Streaming with the Mouse. Today we're going to be talking about the Book of Boba Fett, Chapter 6, From the Desert Comes a Stranger. It's a gross day out here, so kick back, relax. Hopefully you're nice and warm. You're listening to Streaming with the Mouse. And welcome on back, everyone, to episode 115 of Streaming with the Mouse. My name is Clifton Paul Robinson, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, my co-pilot, the deputy to my sheriff, Cam.
I hate that guy.
Well, hated.
Well,
Past tense.
yeah.
Past tense. Cam, how are you doing?
Cliff, what a week. This was everything I hoped for and more. I gave up on seeing somebody. I saw them. I saw another person. It wasn't an end credit scene. This is the best episode of any Marvel or Star Wars television that has come up on Disney Plus, hands down. People are criticizing it. Everybody has their own opinion. I don't agree with those criticisms at all. This was awesome. I loved it.
Okay, the criticisms for what I have seen that are criticisms are valid. I get it. It's called.
But I don't care about them.
It's called the Book of Boba Fett. I get when the titled character is like a, oh, look, there he is. Blink and you miss it. I do understand that. However, there is another good point. There were two actually good points that I'll actually discuss before we even jump into the news. And I think you'll like this because I don't think we really talked about it. The first thing is someone compared it to Clone Wars, where, yes, technically it's about, technically, I mean, I go under the assumption that the Clone Wars TV show is based, the main characters are Ahsoka and Rex. But they're not in every episode. It's like this long-winded thing. That's one way to look at it. Someone made a joke.
Well, think of it like this, like a movie, like The Last Jedi.
Like when you're already starting.
Hold on. Oh, but hear me out. The Last Jedi. You think, okay, this is a Rey and Luke movie with Kylo Ren as the bad guy, and you got Snoke kind of thing. So we see that stuff, right? But then we also have to jump to like a crappy scene in Canto Bight with Finn and Rose, who got played dirty in that movie. So like,
you just criticize the Last.
I hate
Jedi?
that. Oh, I've been very critical. I think it's a fantastic movie, but I don't like the
I need
Canto
a
Bight
bell.
stuff. But that's the thing is you're not focused on just those characters the whole time. You're focused on other things. I don't know how the Grogu thing fully moves this Boba Fett story forward, but I don't care because I got to see my guy Grogu. So if you're listening to this and you're like, oh my god, can't spoil this, you're an idiot for listening this far. Thanks for listening and thanks for watching Book of Boba Fett, where we saw my guy Grogu this week and it was awesome. And Luke Skywalker and Ahsoka Tano and Cad Bane. It was great. I'm in love. Let's talk about this episode. Well, let's go to news.
I have one last thing to talk about. Other than that,
how cute was Grogu? Very.
He was great. The other thing, though, is people. This is a really good point. There has been rumors. I know Bond even mentioned it, which makes me think that okay, this is starting to actually move around. Is supposedly season 3 of The Mandalorian is going to be a very like biblical telling of The Mandalorian, as it's going to be like Din doing quests to earn the right to be Mandalore, to be the one that leads Mandalore. So from that sense, think of it, I mean, depends how religious you are, but like the books of the Bible are written by certain people. They're in it sometimes, but they're not always. It's a story within their greater narrative, which is, sure, I think, a better way to look at it. I still say look at the Book of Boba Fett as part of The Mandalorian. That's how I explain it. And that's what I was doing. That's what I was going into this show thinking. But before we jump into it, let's talk about news. Not a lot. This is interesting. This is within the last hour. Goosebumps live action TV series Reboot has been greenlit by Disney Plus. I loved those old TV shows. I don't know if you ever watched them around Halloween.
I watched some of like the older, like I don't know if they were TV shows or like movies or whatever. It's not. They
were made for. Well, they were both made for TV shows and movies, depending on.
It wasn't Chucky. What was his name? Slappy.
Slappy. Yes.
That one scared the bejesus out of me. I read those books. I'm not a horror guy, but I used to read those books all the time more than what
horror.
When I was a kid, Say Cheese and Died scared the bejesus out of me. That's a great one, by the way. Say Cheese and Die. I used to love those books. Didn't really care as much for the television show. Like I said, Slappy scared the bejesus out of me. But I absolutely love those books. So it's just kind of cool. So it brings Goosebumps to a whole new generation of kids, probably. Maybe they watch a show and then they get into the books. They're really well done by R.L. Stine. So that's pretty cool.
If you ever want scary, as we're on the topic of Star Wars today, Galaxy of Fear, the old Legends books, they used to terrify me as like a middle schooler. So two Alderaan kids after Alderaan blows up and they're alone with their droid. Really good. And one of them's Force sensitive, so of course stuff hits the fan. The other thing, I only want to talk about it because I found it so funny. I got such a good laugh out of it. Actually, even before that, Doogie MD is renewed for season 2. Star Wars pulled such a fast one on everyone, releasing a Kenobi tweet, and I can kind of call out Cam with this.
I got excited. Tweet, relax, I got excited.
And this happens all the time with comicbook.com as well, where they're comicbook.com. They're not movieBook.com. But the Obi-Wan thing coming out in what is it, April?
No, May.
Oh, the thing coming out in May is a comic book on Ben Kenobi, which I found funny because it set everyone ablaze. But supposedly this kind of like gotcha moment by Star Wars accidentally might have spoiled Kenobi is coming in May also, because someone that works for Lucasfilm TV and everything, or whoever does Lucasfilm shows, also tweeted, oh, finally Kenobi coming in May, and then he like tried to backtrack it. So they tried to be cute, and I don't think it worked. I do think, and here you can bet this also, Kenobi trailer during the Super Bowl. Yes or no? I say yes.
Yes, I agree.
I say yes, in a TV spot for Doctor Strange.
I think we will get a Moon Knight trailer. I think we will get a Kenobi trailer. I think we will get a Doctor Strange TV spot. And I also think we will get a larger Disney Plus trailer. Kind of like what they did right before the Marvel shows, where we saw like the beginning of WandaVision and Falcon Winter Soldier, and you saw little clips from that. So I think we're going to get something like that. I think we're going to have a lot of ads for this one. Yes, I got duped. I saw the words Obi-Wan, I saw the words released, and I saw the words May. And I got excited, and I sent a text to Cliff and our buddy Colin and said, Obi-Wan, May. And then the next tweet I said was a swear word, because then I got duped. But it looks like it would make sense for this to come out in May. The comics, it's like, I think it's a 4 or 5 part mini-series that takes place, like, I think like a couple months before the events of episode 4, from what I've read. So I'm excited to read it, but I wouldn't be surprised if this coincides with the Kenobi show some way, somehow.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't even look into it. I just thought it was funny. I'm
excited.
I'm excited for it, of course. But one last thing, I didn't even see this. I'm surprised no one actually talked about it on Twitter. Hocus Pocus 2 officially coming to Disney Plus Halloween 2022.
Solid.
Great.
Cool. We'll talk about it.
Are you ready, Ken? I don't know. I don't think you're ready. I don't think any.
I've watched this episode 4 times. I'm ready.
I don't think any of us can be truly ready.
This is the most prepared I've ever been for an episode of the show in my life.
Before we even start, I was very prepared today. I have 2 of the characters right here if you're watching the video.
3.
3, yes, 3. 2.5.
I got one right here. Been playing with this little R2.
There you go. You have your little R2 using them too. All right. So again, we're going to talk about Chapter 6 from the Book of Boba Fett. From the desert comes a stranger. It was a really good, the bad, and the ugly in certain parts of the skip. But other than that, we really avoid Tatooine most of it. But for the first part, we do open up seeing, again, 5 points. We open up seeing, Mos Pelgo, where we're now seeing the Pike Syndicate is encroaching onto more people's territories. And did you know where this was going as soon as the show opened?
As soon as I got a whiff, I was like, some character's going to return right now. And I was right on that assumption.
And one of the good old boy, the sheriff's back in town. We have Cobb Vanth returning and does a really good sheriff, like walking in saying, okay, get off my territory. You're no longer welcome here. Of course, the Pikes try to intervene. doesn't go well for them. He leaves one alive. Never leave one alive at this point. The Pikes are not here. They don't play, oh yeah, I guess you're right. And we see Cobb kind of be like, I'll keep that. I'll keep the spice. And they go, this is worth more than your entire town. He says, go back and tell them not to come through here. And instead of actually doing anything with the spice, he just kicks it over and lets it fly into the wind.
I think that's really cool. So first of all, hashtag my Marshall. I love my guy Cobb Vanth. I thought he was such a high point of season 2 of The Mandalorian, even though he was in that one episode, basically. I think actually not even basically, I think that was it, just one episode. I thought he stole that episode. I thought he was awesome in it. So it's cool to see him back in this. And I think what was that scene? Probably less than 5 minutes that whole scene took, maybe. And it showed so much about his character, of how much he's willing to do, but also like he's not going to compromise his morals for his town. Like they said, like one of the Pikes said, this is like be able to help pay for a lot of stuff in your town, basically, and he still kicks it over because he's not willing to do that, if that makes sense. He does it because spice can hurt people. It's a drug. That's what it is, basically. And
they really were leaning into the Dune references there.
Yeah, I guess, but yeah,
stuff.
So that was an interesting little show of his character, I thought, even though we've only seen him for an episode and 5 minutes up to this point in the episode.
I think it shows a lot. But after this, we'll talk more about Cobb later. After this, we don't see Tatooine for a long, long time, as we see Din in his new starfighter exiting hyperspace to a forest green world.
Well, before we get there, he does ask. Doesn't he ask Cobb for help before that?
No, this is after.
Oh, that was after? Okay, I'm an idiot.
End.
Sorry.
You have seen this 4 times. I have seen it once.
I got excited. Sorry. You're right.
You did. You jumped the gun. You really wanted to talk about that, but I feel like we have to end with that. That is sorry.
Yes.
So he ends on this luscious world. We still don't have confirmation what planet Luke's new Jedi temple is from. The legends or Yavin 4.
I don't think it's the Yavin 4.
I do not either. But as you look for it, he enters the atmosphere and he flies around, and finally he lands and gets to meet R2-D2 again. I was not expecting.
Hey droid is what he said. The most disrespectful thing Din Djarin has ever said is "Hey droid" to R2 freaking D2, which I love, because somebody tweeted a great thing the other day. Is like, Din Djarin just doesn't understand he's in Star Wars, and that's hilarious, which is funny.
It's a good way to put it. So as Din is like, can you bring me to Yoda, or not Yoda? Can you bring me to Luke? Can you bring me to Grogu? R2 brings him along, and we see these like ant droids. I thought building Luke's temple from The Last Jedi. So if you're someone that was like, oh, Disney Plus is gonna retcon the sequels, you're wrong. You now have Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau reaffirming it, whether or not you like it. But they're building Luke's temple that we see burned down in the sequels. And as Din keeps trying to talk to R2, R2 does the thing most people would love to do when they don't want to answer certain questions. They just shut off.
R2-D2 handles confrontation the way I do, where I just like ignore it, and I respect my little two-legged king right there.
I will say, I think R2 is getting old, because R2 used to be like not chopper level like to confrontation, but he would spray droids with oil and light them on fire.
Yeah, he would do that. That was 20, 30 years ago.
But he's getting old, so he turns himself off. And these little droids build him a bench, and like you said, Din is just in his own world. He asks them, is this a bench? And he just right away goes, sits down, and falls asleep. What was your first look at this new world? I know we've seen it in the comic. I think we've seen it in the Kylo Ren comics, and stuff like that. But this is the first time we see it before it's developed.
Yeah, I feel like every time we've seen it, it's been at night kind of thing. Even in the comics, it's when Snoke burns it down. It's nighttime when he sends that. Well, Snoke / the Emperor, I guess. When he burns down the temple, and then you see it obviously in the movies as at night when it's all crumbled. So seeing it being built from the ground up by these really cool droids. I don't think I've ever seen a droid like this before. I thought they looked really interesting and they're cool builders. But it was interesting to be there, and of course that makes sense where Luke and Grogu are. Like, that makes sense. Like, he built the temple, and at this point, it looks like Grogu's going to be Luke's first student. Obviously, we'll see if that actually comes to fruition, but cool to see the beginning stages of the Temple of Luke Skywalker as he restarts the Jedi Order after the Return of the Jedi.
Yes, and like you said, well, actually, let's go through Din's story before we even talk about your favorite part. As Din is asleep, we get our old friend back, as I did not expect this at all.
This was shocking to me.
Ahsoka Tano wakes Din up. Din very quickly reacts, and Ahsoka does not budge. I thought that Rosario did a very good job capturing her in this, in a lot more like chill environment, instead of like, oh, I'm going to murder everyone to fight Admiral Thrawn. And she explains that she's an old friend of the family, which breaks my heart. And they just go on. She tells him what this is, what it's going to be, and just kind of tries to steer him away from going to see Grogu.
Yeah. This was... I didn't know I need... Well, I had always imagined, it's like, oh, how cool it would be if, like, Ahsoka, like, knows Luke or knows Leia eventually down the line, but I just wasn't expecting it. First of all, I think, Cliff, last week, we didn't expect we were actually going to see Grogu. I thought it was
I was honestly, I mean, I love this episode. In the Book of Boba Fett, it doesn't make sense. For the love of Star Wars, it makes as much sense in the world as possible.
I did not think we were going to see Grogu. I really thought if we were going to see him, was going to be next week, episode 7, end credit scene kind of thing. So I was all excited that we're going to see Grogu probably, because we're on this island. We're going to see Luke, obviously. But then Ahsoka comes up, and my mind is racing a million times a minute, like, oh my god, it's happening. She met Anakin's son. She knows Luke. Like, she just that was the coolest melding of the worlds I've ever experienced in Star Wars, where we had, oh my god, Ahsoka, who is one of probably the best Star Wars characters created since 2000 and past, basically, meeting my favorite Star Wars character of all time, or knowing my favorite Star Wars character of all time in Luke Skywalker, was just phenomenal to see. And it was just really, really cool, man. It was just really cool.
Well, I don't know why, last night before bed, I was sitting down and thinking, like, what, if someone asked me right now, who are your favorite Star Wars characters, who would they be? Obviously, for me, number 1 is Ahsoka. That's pretty obvious. And I'm like, I feel like number 2, like, between 2, 3, 4, it's very hard, because I'm like, for me, 2, 3, and 4 are all between Luke, Obi-Wan, and Han. And that's very hard. Those are 3 very hard to switch around in my head. Kenobi might do that, but I honestly think Luke probably is number 2. But I don't exactly know. But I'm like, I know for a fact who my number 1 is. I know that.
Yeah, and that's exactly like it is for me. But for me, instead of Ahsoka, it's Luke has been, always will be my number 1. And then I think if you honestly like had me rank my top 5 characters every single week, 2 through 5 would change every single week. They'd be the same people most likely at this point, but they would change, and it would be some sort of like Obi-Wan, Ahsoka. Honestly, now Din is up there, and Darth Maul. It would be those 4 characters swapping between spaces, and maybe Grogu. Grogu's is in a special category, if that makes sense.
I was expecting Kenobi.
I said Obi-Wan.
I know. You said
Maul. I was like,
I know. And, well, actually, and we know Sam Witwer is a huge nerd that watches it right when it drops, because he was tweeting away, spoiling stuff right away. But no, but you're right, it changes. Not usually you pick your number 1 and then it changes for the rest.
But it's cool to see these worlds collide, where we're getting something George Lucas and Dave Filoni created back in 2008, I think 2006 was when Clone Wars came out.
I think 2008.
And melting with like the best Jedi of all time is it's crazy to see.
Worlds colliding. The words of George Costanza.
Yes.
But eventually Ahsoka does talk Din out of seeing Grogu, as Din is right there. Din can see Grogu, and
this was heartbreaking.
But she was actually right. She was like, are you doing this for you? Are you doing this for him, or are you doing this for you? And we knew what the answer was. Whether or not, we know Grogu wants to see Din, but Din wasn't doing that for Grogu. He was doing it for himself, which is completely fine. But this is the whole thing where a Mandalorian and a Jedi are very different. I think I think we can all guess where this is going. And people are like, why was Ahsoka doing this? Because she she's not a Jedi anymore. She's like she's a Ronin, and but she still understands what's at stake. I think she still understands what Luke is trying to do. And from this, though, Din says, "Can you at least give him this?" and hands her the package that looks like Grogu's head. And she says that she'll give it to him.
And what I loved about this is before he even says, like, "Can you give this to him?" He's like, "This is, I just wanted to give him this." And again, Ahsoka pushes him, like, "Yeah, that's still for you. It's not for you doing this for Grogu. It's for you because you want him to remember you," kind of thing. And I was like, "Oh my god, that's like next level Jedi thinking that I like wouldn't have thought of." So I thought that was cool, and it was so sad because you do see Grogu, and I think you can see Luke too a little bit far in the distance, and knowing they're like so close to being able to reconnect after that heartbreaking scene in the season finale of season 2 of The Mandalorian, and you just want that moment so bad. And we're going to get that moment, I feel like, and we'll talk more about predictions later. I think we're going to get that moment, but just to be so close yet so far away in this episode, it was heartbreaking, man.
Yeah, and actually we find out Luke is even more powerful now than he was, because he said he could sense that Din was there, and he knew when he left as well. So as Din leaves, we'll talk all about Luke and Grogu's training. As the frog scene was hilarious. Grogu's able to levitate one frog. Luke, the deep fake CGI technology,
terrifying. And I mean that in the nicest. It's not terrifying that Luke looked bad. It looked too good. The fact that that technology exists is terrifying. Who's to say, Cliff, that they can't put your face on you doing something like killing somebody on a video, and then now you're in jail? This is messed with my mind a lot.
This is a thing. This is a thing in cybersecurity. We're not even going to talk about this, but absolutely terrifying. They got the guy from YouTube that fixed the Luke Skywalker scene in Mando season 2 finale. They hired him to come and do this,
which is awesome. What a cool little rags to riches. Like, hey, I just did this as like a fun project kind of thing, and now you're like, oh yeah, I work for Lucasfilm, and I'm gonna make the greatest deep fake of all time.
The only thing, and this people were right, the only thing that was semi off, and this is still a harder part, is his audio sync was a little weird, but it makes sense because you only have so much young Mark Hamill audio to work with to mix into the lines you need. But it was,
I didn't even notice it.
But like, the way like it was so weird.
Don't just. I don't want to talk about it because you're gonna ruin it for me and everybody else who didn't.
It's not even ruined. It's not even ruined because it's still incredible. It's just so like I had just the other day watched Return of the Jedi, and I'm like, it literally is him. It's
in 2022,
there. And I wonder what
we're getting 88 Mark Hamill. That's crazy.
I wonder what what was going through his mind in this. Like, he must have been wigging out. I feel
you could just do this forever. Like Luke Skywalker can have a brand new story in like 2062.
Yeah,
no big deal.
Poor Sebastian Stan, you have lost your job.
I don't want Sebastian. People are still like, oh, Sebastian Stan would be cool. Like, no, they can do this now.
Sorry,
can I before we move on, can I give my apology, Cliff?
Go ahead.
I am sorry. I'm kind of sorry for all the mean things I said about the visual effects department after the speeder bike chase scene. I still stand by everything, but that thing crawled itself to death so that way this could walk and run and rise up to the heavens, because this was such good graphics and such good CGI.
It was. But talking about Grogu's training, now let's actually talk about
it. Was the best. It was so cool. My guy still loves frogs.
He goes for the frogs. Luke kind of reprimands him, but then lifts all the frogs out. Well, you can tell they have an interesting bond. They're growing this fun bond together. I think the craziest thing was when they were walking and talking, Luke was force pulling him along.
That was like the funnest thing when he just swiped his hand and Grogu like leaps like 5 feet forward.
And I think I really liked his story about Yoda. I really liked his story about Yoda, how he spoke in riddles. Like,
yes, so
interesting. And then finally Luke is like, what happened? Like, we still have not talked about this. What happened to you? And then, would you like me to show you? Which, again, showing that Luke is becoming stronger, has become very strong in the Force. He's now reached a master level of the Force. Did you
see the criticism about this?
No, I did not.
So a couple people, I didn't see a lot, but a couple people said that this was like messed up of Luke to like re-traumatize Grogu by showing him that, and we'll talk about it in a second. He asked him like, do you want to see? And I think like a part of Grogu does, like, as much as Grogu's like afraid to show off his Jedi abilities and stuff like that, and you can tell that because he was terrified of what happened to him. Like, he still wanted to see kind of thing, and I think it's beneficial for him to. It's like kind of going to therapy and like reliving trauma. Like it sucks, but like it's necessary for healing and growth.
But also, I've not seen that. But the whole thing is he asked, and Grogu said yes.
Yes, yeah, and that's where I was like, I disagree with what you're saying there.
And the other thing, though, is there's this whole thing where the dark side leads down multiple paths. And one of them is the pain. Pain leads to hate, suffering, all this. And the thing is, if he always hides from the fear of his past, that is a way to lead towards the dark side for Grogu.
Right.
And that is another thing where he took the first step towards at least being at peace with himself. And then, of course, being a Dave Filoni episode, we get another scene of the Purge, of Order 66, where Grogu is watching as his Jedi get gunned down that were protecting him. Did you notice one of the clones?
I noticed a lot of the clones, but I don't think I noticed
one of the clones was Commander Oppo. The one
with
the arrowhead.
Interesting.
Because people don't know, Dave Filoni worked very heavily on Avatar Season 1. The Last Airbender. Not the blue people.
No, I knew what you meant.
People have looked, I know they deleted it on Wikipedia. It looked like the logo was Barriss Offee's logo. I think that would make a lot of sense, because I think Barriss Offee is a Dark Horse villain for the Ahsoka TV show.
But doesn't she like get kicked out of the Order?
Yes, but and then into Palpatine's custody. So
but why would the Jedi be defending her, is what I'm saying. Like, if they're in her office, so I'm not saying they're defending her, but like they were obviously defending Grogu, but they're in her office.
I'm just saying that's where his protectors died there. We didn't see Grogu leave. We just saw he was being protected, and then it ends before we find out what happens after. What if he was near there and Palpatine sends her in, he corrupts her? Because we know that her issue was with the Jedi. The Jedi had become complicit. So afterwards, I still believe Barriss becomes one of the Inquisitors.
I want Thrawn to save Grogu.
That'd be interesting, but Thrawn would have never let Grogu leave his presence
unless he had to for some reason.
But also,
I want this to connect to Ahsoka in a different way. It's going to connect to Ahsoka in one way or another, though. Grogu's story.
I feel like there needs to be some closure between Ahsoka and Barriss, even if it includes Ahsoka killing her.
I guess.
So it's
not something I care about too much, I guess.
That's true. You gotta rewatch that arc, then you will.
I mean, I've watched it. Yeah, but give me the Thrawn stuff. I like that connection. But no, it is really cool to see. I love anytime we get to see Order 66 from different points of views, from another point of view, a certain point of view.
It just breaks my heart more over and over.
Yeah, it really does. But it's cool to see that. I know I bring this up a lot. I bring up the year a lot. I can't believe we're still seeing this in 2022, because I never thought this would happen once George Lucas finished the prequels. I just never thought we'd get more storytelling, and Disney is giving that to us, and we're getting to relive different things, and that makes a bunch of the fanboys really mad and sad and screw Disney, but I think it's awesome storytelling, so I love that we're getting to see this.
Oh, Disney ruined Star Wars.
Mando's
my favorite show, but that's not Disney. That's
not Disney. No.
That's Favreau and Filoni.
The worst. Okay, sorry. Off my soapbox. After
Grogu faces his past trauma, they start to train again. Luke does his nice little lightsaber routine, kind of showing off to Grogu as he's levitating. We see Luke introduce him to the gun ball. Grogu ends up finally getting over his either laziness or contempt not to do it. Jumps around all the rocks and breaks it. Literally force throws it into the water.
But I don't think it's him being lazy. I think it's he shut himself. He can shut himself in and out of the Force, just kind of like what Luke did, what Elzar Mann did in the High Republic. I think that he's choosing to cut himself off for the most part until he needs to use it. He needed to use it because he thought Cara Dune was going to kill Din, so he Force choked her. He needed to do it there to survive the ball gunfire thing. He needed to do it to help save Chubbs. I can't think of his name right now off the top of my head. What's his name? Not Gideon.
I'm missing. I'm forgetting here. It's
This
fine.
is
Yes,
terrible.
but yes, Grogu.
So I think he shut himself off, so he turned it back on when he needed to use that. So I don't think it's him being lazy. I did love his little tiny mini jump. I let, it was 3 a.m. I left a little audible. Oh, that was so cute. He tried jumping, but then he can actually do like the using the force to jump higher, further, do the cool flips and stuff. This was great. The training montage was great. Literally was my favorite part of this episode. I think I like Jedi training montages. I loved Rey's in episode 9. I've obviously loved Luke's in Empire Strikes Back. We get the nods to that where Grogu goes into the backpack and Luke's
does
like, watch
flip.
this kind of thing. That was my favorite thing, is that we're seeing Luke, who was kind of reluctant to do it with Yoda, and Yoda was kind of pestering him, like, you gotta go this. Luke's doing it out of choice now, and he's showing Grogu like the ropes kind of thing. I thought it was really great. It was really, really special, and I just adore this episode, and I love that part.
It was. I'm excited to rewatch it, and as Grogu's on the rocks, Ahsoka joins Luke.
This is where I freaked out. I was like, oh my god, it's happening.
And we have actual confirmation they have met. Ahsoka gives Luke Mando's gift, and they talk about that back and forth. Luke talks about how he doesn't think Grogu's heart is in it. And she goes, you'll figure out the right thing to do. And she says the thing where, you remind me a lot of your father, which you can take it any way you want.
Could be not great, potentially.
But the thing is, I think a big thing is Ahsoka's memory of Anakin is Anakin. She had to fight Darth Vader, and she believed that he was corrupted through other things. But also this means, especially if Ahsoka's show is after this, Ahsoka is going into her show knowing Anakin returned to the light before he died.
Mm-hmm.
We also know that Hayden is coming back for the Ahsoka show as well. So it'll be interesting.
There's one thing I'm missing now, as cool as it was to see Luke interacting with Ahsoka. I don't know how you do this. I don't know if they will do this because of Carrie Fisher being passed away. I would love nothing more than to see Leia interact with Ahsoka, because it'll be interesting to see, right? Because have you read Bloodlines?
I have not.
So like Luke embraces his father, that he embraces the Anakin, but Leia's kind of trepidation about it, because like her dad tortured her, like when she was captured in episode 4, and she sees her father more as Darth Vader than that's my dad kind of thing, and she kept it secret for a while until it was exposed that, oh my god, Darth Vader is the father of Princess Leia kind of thing. Like, that was Anakin Skywalker. He had 2 secret children with a senator from Naboo, and I would be interested to see their relationship, because it was something I didn't know what to expect until we saw this, was how does Ahsoka view Anakin? And we kind of get that confirmation where, like you said, Cliff, she can separate Anakin from Vader a little bit, where she can even say with like a nice pleasantry, like, you remind me of your father, Luke, kind of thing. And she makes it seem like it's a nice thing. Obviously, you can take that either way, but she makes it seem like a nice thing. Leia doesn't have that connection with Anakin that Luke does, so I'd be interested to see like a conversation between Leia and Ahsoka. I mean, they have the technology to do it. It's just, will they do it, kind of a thing. I don't know.
Yes,
and I know this doesn't have to do anything with this episode, but it's making me think about, like, she's a friend of the family. What does that mean?
It'll be interesting to see. I think they'll figure out. My guess is if they ever do that, it'll be up to Billy Lord to decide.
Correct, yes. Yeah.
I think she loves Star Wars, and I think she loved her mom in Star Wars. I could see her, but it all depends how they do it.
Is Kylo born at this point? He'd be a baby. He'd be I like 2 days old.
I believe he's a child. Like, he's
at
like
this
a
point?
young child at this point, yes.
Okay.
So, part with Luke and Grogu, though, unless you have anything else to add.
It was awesome.
Luke presents Grogu with an ultimatum. He can pick up Yoda's lightsaber that he still has, as Dave Filoni ruins comic books yet again, or did he? Or he can choose the Mandalorian way and choose the Mandalorian chainmail that Din had made for him. We do not see the answer. People were mad about this. I don't think there's any reason to be mad about this because
People aren't thinking straight enough.
People are saying that Luke is not learning the way from the Jedi. I think he knows exactly what he's doing, and I think he wants Grogu to pick the Mandalorian armor. But what do you think before I finish my little thought on that?
So I think it's definitely a test. Obviously, either way, it's a test kind of thing. I think there's a way to do both, where he can choose, like, where his heart goes. Because obviously, if you don't, my favorite thing that I've seen, only a Sith deals in absolutes. So there's definitely a way that you can do both. I think you can love your family and love Din kind of thing and be with him. But he has to make that choice because either way he's going to be hurt. So like Luke says, you either stop seeing him now and you become a Jedi and awesome, great stuff, or you go with Din and you're just going to lose him in, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 years, however long Din's alive for, because Grogu will outlive him by centuries kind of a thing. So I think there's a way where you can do both, where it's a healthy balance where, yes, Grogu can love and form attachments, because essentially Luke is rebuilding the Jedi Order here, kind of thing. I would have to have guessed that he had love. Well, he definitely has love for his sister in the Last Jedi. I would have to have guessed he had love for Ben up until like he screwed up Ben's childhood basically and turned Ben over to the dark side. So there's a way to have love and respect for Din and want to be with him and stuff like that, but also still train as a Jedi. So I think there's a way to do both. I don't think it's a clear ultimatum like people are making it out to be. I think you just have to think about it and think about Luke's character. On the other hand, maybe it is an ultimatum, and I kind of said this to you, Cliff, because one of my ways of thinking was maybe it is an ultimatum where he's saying you have to do this or that, because in reality, like, Luke is hubris. He says that in The Last Jedi. He's like, in my hubris, all these things happen, so maybe he's like, nope, I have to go back to the old ways of the Jedi. I've been page-turning these Jedi texts, so I'm going back that you can't have attachments and whatnot. But I choose to think that he's forming a new sort of order, I guess.
I gotta say, the line, a short while for you is a lifetime for others, breaks your heart.
Oh yeah, terrible.
He is giving Grogu the same ultimatum that Yoda gave him. Yoda and Ben.
Mm-hmm.
That Luke chose love over finishing his training, and it worked. I think that's what's happening.
But then he still became a Jedi, and it was fine.
Exactly.
So I think it's the same thing. Now, when do you think we'll get Grogu's choice? Do you think we get that in the finale, or do you think we get it later, like in Mando
we'll get season 3?
Yeah,
season 3. But we do have the final part.
Real quick.
Yes.
Sorry. I wish he didn't have Yoda's lightsaber.
I know you don't. I saw that. I'm like, oh, Cam's gonna be upset.
It's not that it's fine that he does. It's just, as someone who likes to like collect lightsabers, I just wanted a different lightsaber to go buy, if that makes sense.
Well, now you can just buy Yoda. Well, actually, it's going to be the same thing.
They don't sell him at Galaxy's Edge, so they have to. They have to. If they don't start selling Yoda/Grogu's lightsaber at Galaxy's Edge, what are we doing?
You want to know something funny that I just thought of? People, I am so excited. I am so absolutely excited for the people that were like, it's not Rey's lightsaber, it's Anakin's lightsaber. Actually, it's the Youngling Slayer 3000. But all the people that, when that happens, when they release Yoda's lightsaber as
that's going to be Grogu's,
saber,
baby.
They're going to be like, oh my god, it's Grogu's lightsaber, and it's going to be like, shut the up, in the words of Aunt May. So we head back to Tatooine, though, as Mando stops by. I agreed with Professor Bond. I thought he was going to recruit the Jawas. I was so ready for an army of Jawas, just like the Ewoks.
Yeah, I didn't think that. I'd be awesome if you ddid. I just didn't think it, though.
They're both very furry.
Very furry.
And we see him end up back at Mos Pelgo as well, as this new deputy is an idiot, says you can't park here, and Cobb is like, no, just take a lap. And
you're good. Everything's fine.
And Mando tells him, like, this is what I have to offer. We need foot soldiers, and your people are good fighters. We need you to help with this. They have their drink. They talk about how they've gained their freedom. They don't need that anymore. They're done fighting. And Mando says, if you figure it out, let me know. And he flies away. And then Cobb decides to call a meeting. But as that's happening, as he's about to call the meeting, we see a stranger come from the desert. And oh man, that was such a silhouette because it was so obvious
I feel so
by
dumb
him.
for giving up on Cad Bane. Like last week, I was like, at this point, I don't care. I don't think we're gonna see Cad Bane. Just give me Grogu. I got both,
Cad Bane?
and I got Ahsoka, and I got awesome CGI Luke.
Did I say Cad Bane last? I don't remember yesterday.
I think you might have said Cad Bane, and at that point, I was like, oh, I give up on that. I think it would have came in episode 5 if it was going to happen. You did say because it's a Filoni episode, we were still going to get him, but I was like, honestly, at this point, I don't care as long as I get Grogu. And like I said, I got Grogu, I got Ahsoka, I got Luke, and I got Cad Bane all in one. And I got Cobb Vanth. I love Cobb Vanth.
And you got
all in one episode.
So we see, and Cobb notices something's wrong right away, tells everyone to get inside. The deputy's out, and Cobb's like, stay inside. Don't do this. Stay inside. And walking up, we see a pale blue Duros coming, saying, "This isn't your fight. Do not work with Boba Fett. He's a Empire loyalist that has done horrible things." And he looks up, and it's Cad Bane. People complain. I actually like his character model.
He looks fine.
This is a 75-year-old man. He is going to be pale and wrinkly.
Yeah, it's also the desert. Like people. Skin does not do well in the desert.
The craziest part about this was all visual effect. This was all real effects. Someone was in a Cad Bane suit,
which is so cool.
Which is insane.
That must be so cool.
And he's an old man. And someone earlier on Reddit was like, Cad Bane has money. He is at this point just either really wanting to get back at Boba Fett or just really likes bounty hunting. Because this man is 75 years old.
Yeah.
They go back and forth talking about how this isn't your fight. The Pikes, you do not want to get involved with this. They have the good old Mexican standoff, and the deputy is out and is so trigger happy. Pulls out who shot first? This is the new Star Wars question. Who shot first?
I can't believe you compared me to this dummy.
Who shot first? I know I had to. I thought it would be funny. The deputy shoots first, or pulls first, draws first. Cad Bane takes out, or Cobb. He's not dead. I do not think Cobb is dead. He gets hit in the top shoulder.
Do you watch with subtitles?
Well, I heard them say get a med pack, like, at the end.
So I watched with the subtitles. Everything, they never said he's still breathing or anything like that, but no one ever said he was dead. So
they said get a stim, get a med pack. They were saying all the things that heal someone.
Yeah, I don't think he's dead.
Cad Bane,
he's hurt though.
I think Cad Bane did it out of respect and fear, because you need the man in charge that's calling the shots to be alive to not jump into action. But Cad Bane goes to town on this deputy. Kind of deserved it.
Yeah,
I don't think either of them. I do not think if it was just Cobb and Cad, neither of them would have pulled. I think they just would have had the stare down and they just would have gone their own way, and that would have been that. What a way to enter him. I don't know why his hats keep getting smaller, but I really liked it. I thought
it looked really good.
So
cool. I was very excited. I'm obviously a big Cad Bane fan. We've talked about that multiple times between Clone Wars and when we talked about Bad Batch. I love Cad Bane, so to see him now in live, it's cool. It's really, really special. I would love the live action version of the Funko Pop. I think would be cool. I know
I think we're gonna get him. I think we're gonna
have to. But I'm excited. I'm gonna say something, Cliff, and I'm gonna say it to hopefully reverse jinx myself. Where last week I said I gave up on seeing Cad Bane, and we got Cad Bane.
Oh, you're giving up on seeing Kira?
Kira is not coming here. Knock on wood, she is not coming here into the Book of Boba Fett next week. No, sirree.
I have one last thing. We have one last thing to talk about.
Yes, I want to talk about this too.
This is during the Pikes Threat. The Pikes enter Garsa Fwip's sanctuary. They go to the two other Twi'leks, go and say, "Hey, can we wash your helmets?" Blah blah blah, and they quickly leave. And the droid is like, "Hey, you forgot this?" And
that's an ice cream machine.
Garsa knew right away, and the sanctuary explodes. R.I.P. Garsa Fwip.
But not Max Rebo, because Max Rebo was not there, and I was very happy.
It was an inside job. Max knew.
The one thing I want to talk about too is that was awesome. Not awesome that they blew it up, but like that's how you start the war. Like that's the war. Next week's going to be the war now. Yeah. I loved when they were inside Boba Fett's like little like war room kind of thing. And when that happened, Black Chrysanthemum's there. And this is the first time, I believe, that we have in one episode, we have a television show character, a movie character, an animated show character, and a comic book character all in one show. That's pretty freaking cool. That was to see, I know I've said this already, but worlds colliding where you have a comic book character in Black Chrysanthemum, Ahsoka the animated character, Din and Grogu as TV show creations, with Boba Fett and Luke Skywalker, which is awesome. It was so cool to see, and I love that Star Wars is such a world builder. I love that it's a shared universe. I know people want to explore other timelines, and I do too, but it still makes moments like this really cool when you're seeing all these characters come together in one single 47-minute episode. Is awesome.
It was absolutely incredible. Very happy with it. The one thing, there's one person I really hope we see next week. There's one person.
Do you know who? Han Solo. You want to see Han Solo? I do too.
No, I would love to see Boba Fett.
Well, fair. Fair.
Let's do 3 predictions each. Let's do that, and then we'll.
Do you want to go one-on-one? You go one, I go one.
One, yeah. We'll start with our least big thing to our big boom mic drop.
Okay.
You can go first.
Han Solo comes in, but it will not be Alvin. It will be CGI Han Solo.
I mean, there was actually a rumor that Harrison Ford was on set, but no one can confirm that.
That's my number one.
And also, Harrison Ford hates Star Wars.
No.
That's your number one. That's your biggest thing.
No, that's my number 3.
Okay, that's your number 3.
That's my least likely to happen, is what I would say.
My number 3 is gonna be. Oh, I should have had some ready to go. My number 3 is gonna be Kira. Kira will be an end credit scene.
That will be my number 2, but not end credit scene. I think she'll be in the main episode.
My number 2 will be Garsa may not have died. Let's get a little crazy.
My number 1 is that we see Grogu, and that's not the big thing. Grogu says his first words.
I saw that one. I saw you tweet that.
First words. He's going to say Din or Mando or Daddy or Papa, something he's going to say. I think he's going to come out. He's going to have the chainmail. I think he's also going to have the lightsaber. And I don't know if he'll do anything with it, but I think he's going to have his first words in this. If not, then by Mando Season 3, I'm very confident Grogu's going to say some words.
My number 1, and this is, I don't know if it's like a mic drop one, but this is the end of Cad Bane's story. Cad Bane dies in the Book of Boba Fett.
I know I did 3. That's a pretty. I think that's going to happen as well.
It's time.
But I think you can bring.
Dave needs to kill one of his own characters.
But I think you can still continue Cad Bane's story. Just like you could do live action Cad Bane before this, but I do think he dies.
We have seen a lot of Cad Bane.
It's great. Good.
You're like, see more.
Good. Yeah. Good. What are you talking? Who cares? Yeah. Sure. Good.
But that is going to do it for this week's episode. 10 out of 10. One of the best. Again, another great piece of Star Wars. Cam, where can they find you and the podcast?
You can find me at CamRamos95. Send me all the gifts, all the pictures of my little guy Grogu. It's been 48 hours since the episode premiered, so I think we're actually good to start spoiling stuff. My brother-in-law saw it finally, so I don't feel bad if I post cute pictures of Grogu now. You can find the podcast at Stream the Mouse on Twitter. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Streaming with the Mouse. You can find the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and you can find us on our YouTube channel. Be sure to search for Streaming with the Mouse Disney Plus podcast, and you'll be able to find us on all those different sites. Make sure you like, rate, review, subscribe, 5 stars, all the above, so that way we can get more people to listen to this podcast and hear us talk nonsense about Star Wars, Marvel, Disney, and everything Disney Plus. You can also find us at our website, cprob.com/streamthemouse. And Cliff, where can they find you?
You can find me at cprobinson81. We'll see you next week for the season finale of the Book of Boba Fett.
Maybe series finale.
Maybe, for the season 2.5 of the Mandalorian.
The Mandalorian, yes.
We'll see you next week for that. So for Cam Ramos, my name is Clifton Paul Robinson. Signing off. We will see you next week, everyone, and may the Force be with you.
This is the way.